anticlimactic. Oh, nice little fire. I feel good. My bones.
Very
Hi,
good.
doggo.
Very good. As we pop, I haven't had any caffeine today.
I've only had one cup of coffee, which for me is very little.
Somebody somewhere listening to this is biscuits deep in the Elkwoods right now,
Guaranteed.
and it's coming into the peak of. I mean, all of September can be good, but I mean, we're talking about peak stuff coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that time of year. I'm leaving in a day myself for a week, day or two, somewhere on there. It just depends on when things get done and when I can take off. And I know lots of guys that are already gone and going to be gone. Well, B. Atkinson shot a bear the other day, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got a bear?
Yeah, he got a bear.
That's cool.
Don't think he was hunting bear, but he got a bear.
That's awesome.
Looked like a pretty good size one, too.
Yeah.
And I want to say all he said is it was hot, which if you ever tried to cut up a bear, especially when it's warm, it's so oily and greasy.
I've heard that, yeah.
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's like it gets all over everything, and it's like you can't hang on to anything. Your hands keep slipping off of everything. It sucks. It's not fun. So, but yeah, shout out to B. Atkinson for killing his first bear. I don't think he killed a bear before.
It's awesome. Hopefully he got the meat cared for, and he's gonna have some of the finest meat that people don't know about.
Yeah, it's surprising how many people like disregard that. I know the whole trichinosis thing is like a fearful thing for people, but dude, bear meat's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's really good.
And I always hear people say it's greasy. It's like, what does that mean? It's
fat
fatty?
The fat is.
The fat is greasier than most fat?
So you know how most fat kind of gets hard?
Yeah.
Theirs doesn't. It's like jelly. So it's kind of, it's really slick. And if you get warm, it gets very liquidy, like super liquidy, like almost like dripping oil. So I don't know what the right word is. Yeah, I know it renders down really easily.
Yeah, bear fat's world famous for some of the best pies.
Well, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
No, it's incredibly good. But they're the whole concept of it, people just get like a little concerned about it for one reason or another. But yeah, bears are freaking great, and yet our state seems to kind of angle to want to not let us hunt them, which is messed up.
Yeah, that's not a bear population thing.
No, there's no science pointing to that. It's all about feelings.
Yeah. And yeah, that's just an anti-hunting agenda.
Yeah. And we can chalk up feelings and what happens when you make decisions based off of feelings. Look at Aurora, Colorado, sanctuary cities and whatnot right now, man. It's just a mess. And supposedly you can't prosecute them because they're not citizens. Just got to let them go. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, logic and science are definitely how we should make environmental decisions.
I feel like that's how we should make all decisions personally, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Call me cold-hearted, but logic and science should be the basis of your decision-making process if you want the entire world to prosper. Personally.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to that. There's a lot that goes into this. Yeah, that's a bigger question. I wanted to start this podcast with a shout-out. I wanted to give a shout-out to all the people who make things with their hands. All the
learn how hard that is, are you?
Well, here's the thing. So I bought a house in Idaho. I decided I was going to renovate it myself, basically, with help of friends where I could, with direction and yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, on the handiness scale, I'm like a 1 out of 10. Like the only skills I'm bringing to the table are problem solving and the ability to learn on the fly. You know what I mean? Like 1 out of 10 is probably not fair. It's probably more like 2.5 out of 10. But I wanted to give a shout out to all the people who make things with their hands. The construction workers of the world, the carpenters, the tradesmen and women. Your skills are really valuable.
Oh, for sure.
And when you think about having meaningful work and like if you say you build a prominent building in town, how long is that going to be around for?
A long time, you'd assume.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's still buildings standing in Europe from 1,000 years ago. Carpentry is like one of the oldest trades a man could do.
Sure. No, I got a lot of respect for carpenter guys. I've been remodeling houses since I was 21.
Yeah.
On personal ones I've owned, or living with a friend who was remodeling his, or that kind of thing. I've done it half of my life or better, and it's not easy. But it's a lot of work, and you get to look back on it when you're done, and then you're going to get the little tip that you didn't realize when you screw something up. It's all you're gonna see.
Oh yeah, I know.
When you walk by,
Yeah.
you go, "Oh, son of a bitch!"
And you're the only one who's
And
gonna
you're
see
the only
it.
one that's gonna see it.
Yeah.
It's gonna drive you nuts.
But it matters to you. Friends, hunting season is here. And you know what makes hunting season better? Having a great podcast to listen to. Subscribe wherever you're listening. Leave this thing a review. That stuff helps us more than you know. Additionally, if you need any archery stuff, check out podiumarcher.com for all that archery stuff. Josh is the archery dealership, and I have a discount code. It's Tim C. Help save a little bit of money and help support what we do. Jocko stuff. We have a discount code with them. It's Josh and Tim. Energy drinks. They have the new hydration, which is kind of like a Gatorade product, but seems cleaner. And their supplements are good too. So discount code Josh and Tim. We'll get you guys right back to the podcast. Hunt hard and have a great season. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I added onto my garage at my old house and built a master suite over the garage. I think the first 5 years I built it, I kept waiting for it to fall down. Because I'm not a construction guy, right? I mean, I've done a lot of it, but I don't know any better. And I had friends of mine that were, construction guys look at it and say, "Hey, am I doing this right?" And I'm like, yeah, that looks right. But every time the wind blew really hard, I was like, "Please don't fall over. Please don't fall over. Please don't fall over."
Yeah. Please God. Don't
Yeah,
do
you
it.
got a one story though, so you should be all right. But two story had me nervous.
I got a one story, and I guess the technical word is a slab on grade. So
Yep.
it's just a concrete slab underneath, which makes it very straightforward. And I like it.
What all have you done so far?
It's pretty simple layout, honestly. I have ripped out the flooring, put new flooring in, ripped out a 3/4 wall that was dividing my kitchen and my my living room and I guess dining room. It's basically like there was a 3/4 wall just kind of in the middle of everything where there were closets. And I just ripped that sucker out. And then I put in, I framed in where the new wall will be. And my next thing will be to drywall that and like mud it and tape it and make it look like it was supposed to have been there.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. And I've committed to in my head, I've kind of sorted through this because it's all been working on the go.
Yeah.
I got to do the trim back. I'm going to do a new trim, just a wider trim to cover the imperfections.
That's the trick.
Yeah.
Covers up everything. Just
Yeah,
get a big, that big wide trim is beautiful. If you only knew why I picked it. It just kind of covers everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's smart.
So I'm going to go wider trim. I'm going to paint my cabinets. I'm looking forward to that the most almost because it's really going to change how the space looks. Because right when you walk in right now, you look at these like orange cabinets. And I'm going to paint
Are they
those.
paint currently, or is it just like an
No.
orange stained wood?
They're just like a traditional looking 90s cabinet.
Oak.
Yeah.
Little
I don't
cabinet.
know what they would call it.
Yeah.
And then it's a little bit indifferent if I'm going to do it or not, but at some point I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it right away. I'm going to do the countertops. I'm going to change it to, they're just like cheap looking countertops. I'm going to change it to like a butcher block, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember I bought butcher block from Bargain Hunt out in Liberty Lake, which is Huntwood's cabinets when somebody orders them custom and they don't pick them up. They had slabs of butcher block in my old house. My island in my kitchen was like huge island. It was like 11 by 4 or something like that. I made it all out of butcher block, and I bought it from them and then had them plane it all, sent it through the planer the same, so it was all the same thickness. Lined them up and ran a saw blade through the middle of them, so either side matched as you cut it. Glued them together with Ulmer's wood glue, and big old pipe clamps, and just let it sit there for like 24, 48 hours. And they got 3 or 4 people to help me carry it up into the house, and put a straight edge on one side and just cut it with a circular saw and sanded it and linseed oiled it, and you could actually butcher block it. Like
Were
treat it like
you
a piece of
happy
butcher
with how it
block.
turned out?
Yeah, I was. I would have. I probably would have been happier with like a real finish on it instead of linseed oil because you have to keep redoing it. But if you actually want to use it as a butcher block, you can't use like polyurethane or something like that because then you're going to end up ingesting some polyurethane and you don't want to do that. But one that you just didn't cut on, polyurethane would have been really cool.
Yeah.
That would have looked dope because it would have really pulled some of the colors out. But it was neat, and it was not that hard, and it was $1,000. It was 4 slabs, and they were like $220 a piece. Then I had to pay them to throw it through the planer. I'm imagining it's probably way more than that now because I bought that in 2007 or 2008, so a long time ago.
It still seems like a reasonably priced solution for countertops. And I just
honestly, countertops aren't that expensive.
Yeah.
Like you could get granite or marble or whatever, and it's not that bad. Like it's surprising. Like when you go to price out a kitchen, the cabinets are way more expensive than the countertops.
Cabinets are freaking expensive.
And if you don't have a lot of counter, like if you lay out your counter and look at and measure it and try to make it all fit in a square that's the size of one slab, if it all fits in one slab, it's not that expensive, dude. I could get you in touch with whoever does my the countertops for my cousin's business. For his home building business, but they were real reasonable. And you can go down, pick out the slab, and I want that one, right? Because I honestly, you'll never replace it. You'll never have to take care of it. You'll never treat it, and it'll be more valuable than butcher block, even though butcher block looks really cool.
Yeah.
But if you're getting it wet all the time, I don't know.
That's a good question.
Because that was my butcher block was on an island away from a sink.
Yeah.
So it wasn't getting wet.
And the other thing I got to negotiate is where that 3/4 wall was, if you could imagine. It's all just blank space right now. And I'm going to put either an island or like a bar that, sits through there.
Are you going to try to put cabinets underneath it and then slap something on it?
I don't know.
Just a pony wall or what?
As I brainstormed with people, everyone's like, well, what about the cabinet space? And I really don't know. I don't know that I really need the storage or want it. Yeah. In kind of my heart of hearts, I always try to have less things because growing up, my dad, and still is, pretty good at accumulating things.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who grew up in his era is like, oh, I'm going to save that nut and bolt because I might use it again.
Sure.
And
I've tried to maintain that philosophy at my property because it's so far away from getting something. So anytime I have miscellaneous crap, I usually take it up there and I've used stuff out of that bin or that box a lot.
Yeah, and it makes sense why people like in Alaska and stuff do that as well. Like if you're out in the middle of nowhere, you kind of save everything you have because those are your resources.
Yeah, if I need a legitimate part, I'm probably 45 minutes each way to go get something, which isn't terrible, but it's a trek where you don't really want to be doing that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could go just like an open bar underneath on like metal posts, or I could make it like a true island with, and I don't know. I think honestly, of all the things, I think that's probably going to come last. Yeah. Because that'll be just new construction on top of that floor.
So what are you in the middle of right now? What thing are you still doing? Did you finish the floor yet?
I literally just finished the floor yesterday.
Oh, okay.
The floor is laid start to finish.
How many days did that take you?
I don't even remember when I closed. Do you remember when I closed?
It was before I went antelope hunting. Pretty sure.
Yeah, it was like the middle of August, right?
Yeah. So it's been like 3 weeks.
It's been every weekend since then. And if I would have truly known how long it was going to take me, I think I closed in the middle of August. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my God, it's probably like 8 days. Yeah.
How much has, who's helped you the most?
Physical labor at my place helping me out has been Joel.
I would have bet money it would be Joel. How much has Joel been there?
Joel's been there a couple days. Okay. Yeah. And he'll show up for a couple hours and then head out. And it's great because for me, what I need the most help with is just knowing what I need to do. Yeah. And then once I know what I need to do, then I can work through it. But there's nothing more frustrating when you're just like, your brain is like flat. You know, like you're like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know what parts I need. Mm-hmm. And that sucks.
Well, and in all fairness, like I remember you showing me the layout of your house, and my first thought when you said you were going to put click floor in it was, oh, there's all kinds of weird angles in here. That's going to suck. Yeah. It's not just a bunch of squares. No. It's all at angles, and you got to cut everything wonky and not a good one for your first experience.
No, so for you, knowing that, having done flooring, For sure. Like if a person just wanted a floor, a rectangle, or a square, it's pretty straightforward because your only cuts are at 90s. But when you start having odd angles in closets and then working around door frames, and the way I did it was all the flooring is ran together. There's no seams. I didn't do any transition strips. And I don't know necessarily if that was smart or not. I think it was.
Long term, it's going to be better.
It looks kind of cool.
It's less likely to separate.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
looks
smarter.
kind of cool. So basically, I started in one corner of the house and I worked my way all the way through it. And then like you front lay one direction, which is the easiest way to lay it, and then you back lay the other direction, which is the harder way to lay it.
Yep.
And I only had to do a little bit of back laying, not a ton. Yeah.
Yeah, backlaying is tougher, but
But I had to cut a lot of angles. Like right where I started in the first third of the house was the hardest part. Anyway, long story short, there's like skill in all those little things you do. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, it's crazy. And
just wait till you start trimming.
yeah,
Oh, it's easy. It's simple. No, it's not.
yeah.
Not to make it look right. It's not. It's easy
Yeah.
to nail it up. It's not
Yeah,
easy to
someone
make
said,
it look right.
I've heard a couple people say finished work is,
Finished work is the most tedious, and it's about between that and mud, tape, and texture sheetrock.
Yeah.
Those are the two things I do not want to do.
which I have to do.
Have me do anything else.
Yeah,
I'll do any other part. Just don't have me do that.
yeah,
I never cared to get good at mud tape texture, which is honestly probably one of the things, if you're going to be a do-it-yourself guy, you should get good at, because you're going to have like little jobs, right? Like
Right.
I'm redoing stuff in here, right?
which is exactly what I have. It's like a little wall that I have
I've
mud
got
tape texture.
I've got like 2 little half sheets of sheetrock I got to hang, and then I got to mud tape to texture them. So I'm probably going to do it myself, even though I hate doing it. And it's in a closet, so you won't see it. So if I screw it up, I'm not as concerned about it. But yeah, oh God, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Once I get the whole kitchen laid out, I'll pay somebody to come in and do that. But I've got a couple of small pieces here and there that I got to do, and it's like, guess I'm doing it. Not fun.
So I've had like Joel has helped, Drew helped with just a little bit of electrical, but he came over and helped, which is cool. Josh Crawford has helped me. My buddy Joe back in Michigan has helped me a ton. My best friend growing up, and basically he's made it his career to buy and hold rentals.
It's a wise decision.
Yeah,
I wish I would
and he
have done it.
also has a business adjacent that is like a promotional business. Like if you needed things on a shirt, that's what they do. They like print stuff and make signs and stuff. But he's always like, that's been his business. And then he's always ran a side hustle. Like it's a full-time job. Basically buying, holding, and renovating properties. So Joe is just an amazing resource now. Like he's literally been there, done that with everything.
Sure.
And anytime I have a question, he's been very willing to help me. So it's been great.
It's definitely convenient to have access to that for sure,
Yeah.
for what you're doing.
Because you can like sort through it on YouTube, but it's generic advice versus specific advice.
Right.
So, and then parts. Like to me, I see so much time getting lost in going to buy parts. And I've seen people do projects where it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this wall, and then an hour later they gotta go to the Home Depot, and then another hour later they gotta go to the Home Depot, and it's like, I just want to do a good job getting all my parts and then go work.
When you haven't been in there yet, but I finally moved that plumbing,
Yeah.
and I went to Home Depot 3 times. The third thing was I grabbed the wrong glue. Like I was cutting ABS down, and I go to open the glue, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh God, I grabbed PVC glue.
Yeah.
So that required a third trip. But yeah, you can't do a home improvement project and not go to the hardware store 3 times. It's just sucks. And I'm dreading when I build the cabin, because I can't just go to a hardware store.
Right. You got to
I'm
be
like
really
gonna
good
stop.
about showing up with all your parts.
Yeah, well, I'm going to buy like way extra of everything and just have it.
Yeah. So along with that, I've also done the bathrooms. I like pulled toilets, put new toilets in. Got to have elongated seats. She had a little.
Don't want to rub the front with the dong, man. Oh yeah, I'm definitely an elongated seat guy.
Yeah.
Got to have that. There's just not enough real estate there
Pull
for
the vanities.
a larger than average man.
And when you pull vanities, then you got to mess with some plumbing and P-traps. So I've done that.
Yep.
Had to solder a little pipe where I nicked a little pipe. So that was cool. My dad's
You know how to turn your water off?
Yeah, I had to go find the main.
Yeah.
But after some problems.
Now you know where the main is.
Yeah.
That's good. Once you start doing a lot of projects like that, you'll go into each section of the plumbing and put in shutoffs.
Yeah.
So you can turn off this section of the plumbing and work on it. They've got them now where with the PEX that they've got whole reservoirs where you run direct lines to one thing, which seems a little excessive, but at the same time, there's no extra fittings, there's no T's, there's no couplers, and you could turn everything off in one spot.
Yeah.
So if you actually labeled it right, it's like, oh, the sink's leaking, turn that one off, and the rest of the water in your house works.
Yeah.
My neighbor up at the property had some guy come in and do all his water, and that's how he did it. I was like, why are there so many freaking pipes in here? They're all individual.
So my dad's a career-long plumber pipe fitter, so he's a good resource for stuff like that. But man, even to this, like, it reminds me now when I call him to try to like sort through a problem with him. It's just not. It's just not that easy to do. And I don't know if it's me or him. I'll take the blame for it. But
well, if you don't think the same way, right? Communication can be really difficult.
yeah,
I mean, that's basically the emphasis of man and woman.
like
So you don't think the same way,
Let me
so it's
give you a
hard to
quick
communicate.
example. So I'm pulling out my sinks, and your sinks have lines that connect, supply lines that connect to the plumbing.
Yeah.
So I show this to my dad via FaceTime. He's like, "Oh God, you got copper." He's like, "You got copper supply lines." I'm like, "Oh shit, I don't know anything." I'm like, "I got copper supply lines."
20
Like,
years ago, everything was copper supply
I'm like,
lines.
"Oh shit, that's what I have." So he's kind of like working me up a little about this, making it out to be more than it is. And then Jake Webb comes over that evening, and Jake's like, "Oh, don't worry about these. You'll rip them out. You'll put in flexible supply lines. They're new or whatever." I was like, "Oh, okay." So that's just like two different perspectives. And Jake was totally right. Like, there's these little flexible supply lines that are the most generic, easy thing in the world. You screw them on, screw them off.
Yeah, just make sure you bought the right thread.
And like my
That's
dad
it.
was like getting me all worked up about it. And I'm like, there's no need for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the difference between a jack of all trades and a plumber. Plumber's emphasis is probably going to be on the plumbing, and everything's going to seem extreme. Whereas Jake's more of a jack of all trades.
Yeah,
where
Jake's actually
everything seems
really
like-
handy.
He is. Jake's incredibly handy.
When I seen him in that environment, like Jake's like, "Oh, this does this, this does this." Like, he's really handy. He's very jack of all trades, very handy.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to have him build my building.
Yeah. It's good to hang out with him for a little bit too in that environment because, you know, I never really got to see him do what he's really good at, which I think is mechanical stuff. I think he's really talented.
Yeah, he's very talented in the mechanical realm. Just don't give him a computer.
And he's always cool and level headed, which I think makes it easier for me to work on people that are cool and level headed. It can be tough when.
Yeah, hot-headeds can be very difficult to function with.
Yeah.
It really can.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, I bought a place in Idaho because I want to be an Idaho resident, the land of the free, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
And I'm looking forward to it. And it's really going to make this year's hunting season different and difficult for me, but in a good way. Like, I'm looking towards the future, and you know, next year I'll be a resident of a state that I love, and that'll open up a lot of resident opportunity for me.
So I'm an Idaho resident currently, and I have a lifetime hunting and fishing license now.
Yeah.
I just got it like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It came in the mail. But
I didn't know.
so you can't have any benefits from the pre-existing state before you start applying for residency in the other state. You have 90 days to change your driver's license,
Right.
technically. So you have 90 days to apply for an Idaho driver's license, which you have to take a test and stuff, which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
I did well, but still, I
heard
was
that,
like,
yeah.
oh my God, you have to take a test?
You have to take a test,
I haven't
yeah.
had to take a test since I was 16. What do you mean?
Yeah.
But you got to take a test. They'll want to see a utility bill and like your home address or something like that.
Yeah.
At least 2 forms of proof that you live there.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to transfer your truck too.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, dude, I've made appointments twice at the Department of License or whatever for rigs. They're like 4 to 6 weeks out.
For Idaho?
Yeah. Like, oh my God, what a pain.
Yeah. So
I
all
got
that
to go
be
down
said-
and I bought that fifth wheel out there, and I got to go get that registered in Idaho. And I went to register, and it's like 5 weeks out. I'm like, I'm supposed to transfer this in 30 days, and it's 5 weeks out. Give me a break.
And I think when I posted about it, I basically said I was moving to a new state, and some people, if you didn't live in this area, you wouldn't know that we live right on the border.
Yeah, we can damn near throw a rock and hit Idaho from
Yeah.
here, which always brings me to the question, how do we get the border moved? Because I would much rather my business be in Idaho, not in Washington. Because, I mean, whatever is dictated by the state. If you look at Washington, basically, if you look at the rectangle, the the left third of the rectangle pretty much dictates whatever happens in this state. The right 2/3 of the rectangle basically don't get a say. And that's a little frustrating from my standpoint. I wish we could find some way to move that. In fact, maybe there's an attorney out there that would try to tackle that. I'd love to be able to do that. If anybody's listening out there, yeah, if
That'd be
anybody's
quite an attorney to be able to move the border.
I know, but I mean, maybe you can. Maybe there's enough people vote for it.
Yeah.
In like a couple counties, like Spokane, Stevens, Whitman, this whatever's along the edge. Just hey, we want to incorporate these counties into Idaho.
That'd be sick.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
So yeah.
Dream a little dream right
anyway,
there.
if you didn't live in this area, the border's right here. And a lot of people are like, you're still going to be making content? Are you still going to be doing the podcast? It's like, yeah, I'm just 15 minutes further away, which isn't that far away. So yeah,
no,
it doesn't change my life.
Basically, the Spokane, Post Falls, Rathdrum, Coeur d'Alene area is one big area. Just Spokane happens to be in Washington. The rest of it happens to be in Idaho. If you look at the population, there's like very little gaps in between that area. Pretty much damn near to Cheney now.
Yeah.
Pretty much damn near to Cheney now. So like the western border's Cheney, the northern border's Deer Park, because there seems like there's almost no gap all the way to Deer Park now. And then you go all the way to basically East Coeur d'Alene, and then you start to get some gap when you go up into the mountain ranges where people typically don't live, or nearly as many people live. So it's basically if you put a dot in the middle of it and go 30 minutes in any direction, it's populated and it's all connected.
Yeah.
But they're called different things.
Yeah. Yeah. We're on the border. We're a border area.
Yep.
Which makes this area interesting for a lot of reasons. But yeah. Yeah. How about a rut report? You got a little elk hunting in, didn't you?
No, I haven't gone elk hunting yet.
You haven't?
I go hunting. It opens Saturday. And I talked to my cousin about going hunting Friday, and he got too busy and we couldn't go.
You didn't hunt the Idaho opener?
Nope, didn't hunt the opener. And it's hot, man. It's really hot.
It is hot.
Like I talked to him 2 days, yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I borrowed his bucket for my Mini when I put all the propane in this weekend. And talked to him. He's like, dude, it's going to be like 95, 100 degrees. I'm not going hunting that.
Yeah.
Just not gonna. There's no point.
And your cousin's probably similar to you or me, where he's like, there's probably a set amount of days he can hunt.
Yeah.
And if you can trade one of those days out for a day that's 100 degrees or a day that's 65,
yeah,
you're going on a day that's 65.
Yeah, he's definitely has, for the most part, gets to kind of choose.
Right.
It's like, I only want to be gone for 5 days or 7 days or something like that.
Yeah.
But I can kind of pick when they are. So, and that's the advantage for him. And honestly, pretty much for me anymore, I can kind of fluctuate when I want to go.
Yeah, fluctuate with the weather a little.
When bows start showing up and there's deadlines for when they have to be published, that matters. But I don't really see much of that until October. I'm supposed to be getting some bear stuff in, I think, while I'm gone, but it's not releasing till the end of the month. I did just get a PSE Dominator Duo X 38 and published that video. And once again, like last year, they published a unrealistic speed for their bow, like 340 foot a second for a target bow.
Why do they do that with a target bow?
I don't know. I don't get it. Like nobody cares how fast a target bow is.
Like, tell us how accurate and forgiving it is.
Yeah, I mean,
don't tell me how fast it is.
Very, very low reflex. Good design. It's just violently off on the speed. It was 21 feet slow. It's like it's shooting 319, which is what a target bow should shoot. Target bow should be in the teens to 20s, typically.
Was it the Dominator Duo that won Vegas this year? Was he?
I don't remember.
I think he was shooting the Dominator Duo. Anyway, that's in what I remember the target bow era, which is mostly, say, like the last 5 years. That's a bow that sticks out that a lot of people hang on to because they really like it.
Well, it's unique in the regard that it's actually ambidextrous.
Yeah.
So you can actually just flip the cable guard on the other side,
which is really cool.
Flip-flop the cam and limb assembly.
I mean, from a manufacturing
and you made a left-handed
perspective,
bow. It's smart.
Yeah, that's really
if you're
nice.
making a shoot through, but at the same time, it's way more cost effective as opposed to Hoyt, who's cutting one side full and one side lean to be able to make that bow. But those are, I mean, Darton's got one too. I don't remember if theirs is ambidextrous. I know their old one was. I don't know if their new one is. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Might be. But yeah, there's a couple of shoot-throughs out there, but not too many. And it was $17.99, which is less than Hoyt was. We'll see what Hoyt is this year. They aren't releasing until November on their target line. They didn't pre-release anything like they did last year. But we had a couple of pre-releases so far this year already. We had an Elite pre-release. We had a PSE pre-release. And I can only help but feel like that was because Hoyt pre-released target bows and Matthews pre-released target bows in September last year.
Are you privy to any of the release stuff coming for Hoyt, Matthews,
I haven't been told yet.
Bowtech?
I have some, no. I have some mild insight into all of them. I have Eric's coming over tomorrow, actually, to build his new Matthews, so I'll actually see it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But I can't talk about it. I can't tell you about it.
Well,
I have my own clues as what I think it's going to be.
Can we
I
give
think
some
it's
predictions?
I think it's I've already given
Of
my
what we've seen
predictions.
coming?
I've already given my predictions for that. When it comes to Matthews, I think you're going to see the same bow with like a more evolved tuning system.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I think you're going to see almost the exact same thing.
That was pretty much my only prediction, was that we're going to see better tuning systems, because I can't see how they're going to push specs too much.
No.
You know, and with the information era, more and more people want to be able to tune their stuff. And, you know, right now we're looking at easy to tune bows is basically just the Bowtech, right? To move the wheels.
Oh, Elite's pretty easy to tune.
But that's more of a micro than a macro adjustment.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but in theory, your shop should already set your macro.
Yeah.
So you should only need the micro once you get it home.
Yeah.
In theory.
In theory.
Right? So if it was done right, you should never need it. Mm-hmm. You should just be able to use the little set for making little tweaks.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's relevant, man. Like these things do come out of tune. They do come out of time.
Well, so you want to change arrow setups.
I did get
it might change your tune.
Yeah, for sure. I did get some spec information on the new PSE stuff, but I don't have a release date yet. So I got sent 3 bows, 3 information about 3 bows today, but I don't know when they launch. So I'm not sure if and when I can talk about that. I know I pre-ordered some.
You got the specs, but are you privy to like if there's any new features that would blow our mind?
No.
Yeah.
No, but even if I was, I couldn't tell you.
Right. That's what I mean. So we can safely make predictions.
Yeah. So I
you-
haven't heard anything about Hoyt. I haven't heard anything about Bowtech. I did talk to the head of product design when that Honor came out and mentioned a couple of things that they were planning on doing and asked for a little bit of input, what I thought they should do. And hopefully they go that route. That would be cool if they take the input I gave them, but it would be difficult for them to do it quickly. But yeah, and Elite, I haven't heard any clues or hints. But if it's any variation into their target bow that has a pick mount and a rear mount on it, I would assume they're just going to come out with bows that have a pick mount, rear mount on it, and hopefully a redesigned riser on the carbon.
It wouldn't surprise me if I was to pick any of the manufacturers, say someone's going to do something bold, it would be Hoyt. I just have a inkling because their bows have looked really similar for the last 5 years.
Well, you know, in reality, they did do something really bold this last year. It just got overshadowed by Matthews because Matthews did the same thing, and they ended up doing it higher.
Yeah, they played second fiddle.
They did. They made some really big changes, and it's unfortunate because they did well. Like traditionally, like Bowtech's usually been in the last 3 years has been my like number 2 in the store, and it's easily number 3 now. And Hoyt's number 2. So Hoyt made good strides, and unauthentically, Bowtech didn't make good strides. I don't think. I think they made some small strides, but nothing that's like earth-shattering, revolutionary. I need to go buy a new Bowtech, right? So hopefully they do some more stuff that looks like that this year, because that's a company that, you know, does have the easiest technology to tune a bow with, and it'd be nice if their bow held up in specs against the other main bows. Yeah, like Hoyt really did, and honestly, as much as you want to say Hoyt would do something earth-shattering, unfortunately, I don't buy it, and I don't buy it because traditionally Hoyt's the last one to the party if you follow everything. Hoyt was the last one to make a single cam. Now Hoyt did come out with a cam and a half hybrid, which kind of changed the landscape, but they weren't the first one to come out with it. Hoyt did come out with they didn't come out with the first carbon bow. They came out with the first tubular carbon bow. So maybe that's not a fair assessment. It just usually seems like Hoyt over-tests things. Like they have the same protocols that Easton does, I think, where they really over-test the crap out of something for a long period of time. And the negative aspect of that is you may end up having somebody else release the same thing before, which I've experienced when I'm making products. Like I've released something and somebody else has already
It's one of the downsides,
released
right?
it at the same time. It's like,
Yeah.
if you wait too long, like if you have an idea, you kind of need to strike.
Time to market,
because somebody may have the same idea, right? So it's a little tricky in that regard. But yeah, if with how good Matthews did this year, I would expect them just to offer a feature that's similar to the same bow, because they're still selling like crazy. They improved their lead time to where you can actually get a bow, but they're still like they're getting flooded with orders still, because back east they don't start hunting yet.
Right.
So their peak times are right now. And they're still just getting bombarded. I talked to Evan yesterday. He was getting bombarded with orders, just order after order after order. So, yeah, if you're that popular, do you really need to make a big change? Or do you make a smaller change and save a big change for later?
It feels like they're on like a 3-year product cycle where they, similar to like a Ford or a GM or something, like you're going to see some new features, but you're not going to see the body change that much.
Well, most of them seem to be that way.
Yeah.
You don't see big changes. You see like progressions.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
And the further you get down the rabbit hole, the harder it is to make big changes,
Well, I agree. I agree 100%. Like we're really pushing what these things can do.
Yeah.
We really are. So unless it looks
unless there's like
different.
a first principle change, like someone adds a third cam or some crazy wild shit that, maybe we need like an Elon Musk working on for archery.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see him continuing to get wildly more different or efficient.
Yeah, me either. I think we've definitely peaked on what these things can do, and it'll be interesting to see how they go, where they go from here. Although, there are options and opportunities. We're no different than Bowtech making that Honor. I mean, that's a metal riser bow that weighs 3.6 pounds that they didn't skimp on any material. Mm-hmm. They just used a different alloy that they spent like 4 years developing. So it can be done. Things can be done to improve. It's just, I think it's going to be more difficult, farther apart, and way more expensive.
I see a few of my friends on socials using Easton arrows that are labeled as experimental.
Yeah, I don't do it.
Do you know what those might be?
Well, they didn't send me any, so but I'm not a Easton shooter, so there's that. But I know the conversations we've had over the past 3 years,
which is all GPI,
that I've been begging and pleading and whatnot. Is like, you guys are like the only American-made product.
Yeah,
and you're not making the right weights. I'll be shocked if it's not a lighter weight 5mm.
Yeah,
be shocked.
Me too.
And then I'll also be shocked if it's not quite as light as I would like.
Yeah.
Like they have really strict protocols that they've developed over the 100 years that they've been in business to ensure that what they make and put out is safe. Mm-hmm. And some manufacturers will push that line and they won't. Mm. So it'll be interesting. I'm anxious to see it, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's easy to get behind an American-made company. I love that, but they got to make a product that is what you're looking for too.
Yeah, yeah. With the exception of Ultraview coming out with a new arrow, it didn't seem like anybody really innovated arrows this last year. So I expect to see some real jumps in there. Some of the other companies that I've been in communication with are optimistically doing that. So I think you'll see some big changes in arrows this coming year.
Dude, did you, not to change the topic too sideways, but did you see Josh Bowmar shot a kudu in the butthole?
No. No, he Texas heart shot him?
127-yard follow-up shot. Smack. Texas heart shot.
Bobby shot his antelope Texas heart shot.
Buried.
And literally cut the heart in half.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's wild. It's a great shot. Just gutless.
I would have the
gutless clean. Don't spill the guts because that's gonna be gross. But
I would have the biggest bull of my life if I was willing to or knew more about that shot at the time, because I had a 375 bull, probably like a massive 6x6 at 18 yards, giving me the Texas heart shot, and I thought he was turning to go uphill, and I thought he was going to expose more of his vitals, and he just walked away and walked out of my life. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, if you can hit it, Texas heart shot's a great shot because it's hard. It's hard for an animal to live. There's so many veins and arteries, and you're pointed right at the vital organs, and there's no bones in the way.
No bones in the way.
There's no bones in the way. It's all soft tissue.
Unless you catch a hip bone, which is a massive bone.
So
yeah, but if you make the shot,
which is you missed what you're aiming by a lot to hit a hip bone.
It's kind of like the exact opposite of a frontal shot, but the same, right? Like you have a plate.
Yes. Yeah, it's a better shot than the frontal.
You think?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I don't know because I've never done it.
Oh yeah, it is. It's 100% a better shot in my opinion than a frontal.
But
But you don't get presented it as often as you
that
get
is a
presented
shot I
frontal.
regret not taking. I would have,
should.
because it was, you know.
You're an idiot. No, I get it. I if I didn't know better or
I didn't know.
whatnot, I'd be like, well,
I was
fuck,
always
probably
told growing
shouldn't.
up, don't take that shot.
Yeah, no.
And I think a
disagree.
lot of people are thinking about that shot with a rifle too, where it maybe like blows up a lot of the meat and stuff.
Yeah, that's possible.
But yeah, I think if you slid an arrow up there, you're only going into the vitals, but it would be messy. But then again, if you go gutless, then it's not that messy.
Yeah, like I said, Bobby shot his that way, and he wasn't going to get the heart out, but I wanted to. My dad always ate heart, and ever since my dad died, every animal I've been a part of we've eaten the heart.
Yeah.
So I split his breastplate open, and grabbed a saw and cut it open and pulled it out, and the heart was just hanging by a thread on one side. Cut it right in half, and that was a poke. That was a distance. It wasn't quite Bowmar distance, but it was out there a ways, and it penetrated, like buried all the way, and then worked its way out as he ran off.
Yeah.
So it's doable.
So I didn't necessarily. I've seen the Bowmars putting out all this Africa content, and I didn't really get to hear more of the full story. But I saw some of Sarah's hunt, and she talked more about the full story of going to Africa, and they went there for 35 days.
Yeah. No, I was messaging him,
Which is the
when
way
he
to
was
do
there.
it. If you're going to do any, I've always said if you're going to do a big trip like that, go for a long time. But imagine leaving your life behind for 35 days.
Yeah. No, I was messaging him, asking him about some of the products and whatnot, and I would get back these audio files because they only had a sat phone or a satellite system to be able to send stuff. So he'd like talk into his thing and send it to me.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but no, I mean I can't fathom 35 days in Africa what that would cost. Oh my God! But yeah, I mean if you're gonna do it, right?
If you're going to make that long ass flight, like it's better to be there.
And I guess, I think for the most part, their companies are mostly ran by someone else for them. I don't think they actually do it a lot. I've talked to Mike a lot, which I think he's one of the brain trusts over there. They've been moving all their fulfillment to one central location because their big money is in the supplements, right? Bowmar Nutrition. I mean, the broadheads are doing phenomenally well, like too well, unfortunately. We haven't been able to get restocked for 3.5 weeks when I think I was told it was going to be a week. And supposedly they're supposed to ship me my order like today or tomorrow, and it's like 1,000 packs. And season's already started, and I'm a little hesitant, but at the same time, it's going to be popular. It'll be popular all year. It won't matter. So I'll go ahead and take them just so I don't have to, be without. And the tricky part is they require you to pay up front, and I have to have, $40,000 or $50,000 for the room on my credit card to be able to run it at one point. And I'm like, that's a lot of room. Can we like coordinate this and make sure that, hey, it's going to go this day so I know, that kind of thing. But yeah, they're like I said, I think their job is really to make content for the most part. You know? So why not go to Africa for a month?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. But the kudu shot was definitely square in the old Texas hard hole. And I've never seen that published on a video.
Well, I've never seen somebody shoot a ostrich at 140 yards either and put it out.
How many of these shots are missing that aren't coming on camera?
Well, probably a lot.
Because you know the deal and how hard archery is. And even if you're freaking Levi Morgan, you're not going to hit an ostrich in its head.
You can make the best shot in the world, and the animal can still move.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it.
Or the wind could gust.
The wind could gust.
At 140 yards, that's the difference.
More often than not, they move.
Yeah.
Like they take a step, or they hear the bow go off and they whirl,
Yeah.
or something like that. That's way more common. But yeah, I mean, to actually put that out, I don't know if it's good or bad, honestly. I'm torn.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, because I know it happens. Because I've had enough conversations with enough people that I know it happens, right? But it doesn't get published and it doesn't get talked about.
Sure.
So to actually see somebody publish it and talk about it is interesting. I just wonder if it's a good thing to discuss or a bad thing to discuss.
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to lean towards knowledge is power. It's a really difficult situation because you look at, I think we want to present hunting in a good light.
Yeah.
If someone's a non-hunter and they watch it, I think we want that to look like it's in a good light. To just so people understand what hunting is, and hunting is good for what the style of hunting most people do. It's legal, ethical. It feeds their families. It provides them with the most wild, pure, organic protein. Hunting is good and in its root, and I think we want to present stuff that makes it out to be that way. Yeah. So, but I don't know,
Well, there's that. But at the same time, even if you look at that situation, like 120-yard Texas heart shot, 140-yard ostrich, that's still 100 times more humane than anything an animal in a food lot experiences, right? And people overlook that. Like the quality of life that animal experienced up until its death was insane compared to the reality. And that animal's death in the wild guaranteed to be 100 times worse than if he got wounded at 140 yards by a random arrow, right? People overlook that. They go, "Oh, that's not ethical." It's like, well, what does that animal experience in its life?
And
right? Nine times out of 10, an animal's getting eaten and it's alive while it's getting eaten. That's a little worse than getting wounded by an arrow, for sure. Well, that's the beauty of archery over like rifle is there's not shock trauma typically, right? So if you do shoot something with an arrow and it doesn't kill it, it's probably going to heal up just fine. It's not going to end up being coyote bait.
Yep.
It's probably going to live.
How many bulls in North Idaho are killed with a friggin' broadhead in them? Like more.
When I shot last year, it happens.
I think more than most people would care to know or even admit to. Like, they're very tough animals, and a non-fatal shot usually isn't a non-recovered bull. Usually those things will heal up and they'll be rutting.
Oh yeah,
days later even. I've heard plenty of those stories.
I experienced that last year.
Yeah,
they're going to be okay, and that's the reality of it. Because what we're using is clean, sterile, surgical. Right? If you do manage to hit one and it doesn't die, it's likely to be fine. It's not likely to have massive problems going forward. Right? Whereas if you wound something with a bullet, you might have a higher likelihood of something causing it to suffer for a long period of time before it eventually dies. Not to say you can't shoot something with a bullet and have it be fine too. You can. It's just an arrow stays intact. It doesn't leave pieces behind as long as the arrow passes through or works its way out, which 9 times out of 10 it works its way out or it breaks off clean.
Yeah.
And then what's in there also doesn't fester typically like lead would.
Yeah. I off the top of my head, I don't remember the last animal I shot with a rifle. It must have been a bear.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of leaning towards... And I'm not saying it won't happen because I like rifle hunting too, but I might be mostly only archery from here forward, really.
Yeah, I only pull a rifle tag if it comes along with my archery tag and there's a season to use it, then I might do it. But that's it. I contemplated not taking the archery tag in Washington this year, just because of the time of year. That there's the muzzleloader tag is actually a little better time of year. And in Washington, you can use a bow in muzzleloader season if you want.
Right.
Same with rifle. You can use it in rifle. But the late season I really like.
Yeah.
So
which is where you got your bull last year, right?
Yeah. So I settled on I'm just taking the archery tag and going. And that was part of my dilemma back and forth with going to New Mexico was, well, you're going to lose most of your archery season here in early. You still have late, but you're not going to hunt early at all. And consequently, I probably should have done it because it's hotter than hell. I'd still hunt late, but I don't know. It just seemed like too much.
That's
right now.
what I would advise you to do. Because even if you didn't hunt any of the
you told
archery
me to.
season, you would have you still got that late season, which is
No, I know,
yeah.
I know, and in the future going forward, I'll probably look at it differently.
Yeah,
I really will, but I gotta plan that crap ahead. But there's advantages to being able to plan it at the last minute because you usually save money on the tag.
Yeah.
If you got to buy a landowner tag as opposed to drawing.
Now, are you very well informed on our little CWD spiff thing going on?
I called my buddy that's a fish and game cop in Spokane County and asked him about it. My first inclination to him was, so they found this animal over like a year ago and just got the results back like 5 days before season's supposed to start.
Yeah.
And then mandatory 4 months no baiting in Spokane County.
Yeah.
In the units that are in Spokane County, which covers the entire season, like from early archery to late archery, modern firearm, muzzleloader, the whole bit.
Yeah.
You can't bait in Spokane County. So I feel like personally that he said they're not that smart. when I was like, they did that on purpose. He said, no, they're not that smart, man. I wouldn't give them that. But I did talk to another fella that said he called and wanted to, voice his opinion and wanted to know what to do. And the lady told him, there's nothing you can do about it, and we're just going to outlaw it in the next couple of years anyway. So have that on your radar, Washington residents. They're probably likely to try to outlaw baiting, and if you don't want that, you probably ought to speak up about it. And maybe you do want that. Maybe you think baiting's wrong, and that's fine too. All I know is where I hunt and what I do, I'm either going to have bait or a food plot. And I got to learn how to farm, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, food plot is a logical progression from baiting and probably a better solution for a lot of areas because it spreads out the feeding too. But my concern is probably lack of science around it, lack of information around it.
Yep.
Seems very sudden.
Well, I was half tempted when I heard about it to demand my money back because I bought non-resident tags in Washington this year. I don't live here. I paid a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
And I was half tempted to go down there and say, oh, my deer tag, give me my money back. Season hasn't opened yet. Here, take my tag, give me my money back.
Yeah. And typically in these situations, those small things can be a foot in the door for a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Which is like, hey, we're gonna take away a small right, and maybe that scrape doesn't hurt that bad. Right? You just got to scrape it. You just got to scuff it. A scuff doesn't hurt you. But then all of a sudden, you get something sliced off later. But when something gray like that happens and there's not a back-ended solution, like it can be a foot in the door for a larger thing coming, and it oftentimes is. So
yeah, and it's just a test to see how well people respond from it, and if they allow it and don't fight it, then we can open up the door to something greater. And that's my concern.
That's my concern.
I've spent so much money, time, effort, and energy in this state hunting and preparing for hunting that it's hard to accept that I might not be able to at some point.
Yeah.
It may happen that I can't hunt anymore in this state. And that scares me.
Yeah.
Especially when I have, money invested in property for hunting. Like that sucks. And to feel like you're helpless to do anything about it, which I've talked to a dozen people about this, and everyone just gives me the same response. Well, we can't do anything about it. We're screwed. So basically, you're putting your head in the sand and taking your scrape and ignoring it. Like you said, it's the same thing. They're just taking it and ignoring it. And we have to speak up as hunters, which the hard part is trying to get non-hunters to agree with you. If the majority of the state was agreeing with you, which, mind you, none of the biologists want this.
Right.
This is not a biologist-driven thing. This is the Game Commission deciding what they want to do.
Yeah.
The Fish and Game didn't recommend it. The biologists or Fish and Game did not recommend it. The Game Commission did, which is appointed by the governor. And 5 of the 6 of them are anti-hunters.
Yeah. And that's the bullshit is like, we need to trust the people that we employ to do the jobs, right? Like, why aren't we trusting the research, the people that have spent their careers in the field? Like,
because it's not about what's best for the. It's not about what's best for the game.
It's about frustrating.
It's about getting rid of hunting.
Yeah,
because that's the agenda. They want to get rid of it.
It's frustrating.
They want to get rid of it, and then they'll follow it up with, "Well, then you don't need guns anymore because you're not hunting."
Yeah,
so hand them over. That's next.
Yeah,
I hate to be conspiracy guy, but that's reality. That's where it goes. That's the whole purpose. That's the whole reason. It's not because they care about hunting. They use that as the guides of why they're concerned about the animals. If you were concerned about the animals, you would want a healthy management system because they live longer and fuller lives with less starvation and less disease and less famine. Animals live to maturity more in a well-managed system. If you eliminate the management of it, which who in their right mind lets predators go crazy, eliminate the spring season that we had for bear, got wolves running around our state. Oh, well, we're going to wait till we have 100 breeding pairs, which we easily do. There's no way we don't at this point, but we're still not going to hunt them. We got mountain lions showing up. I got mountain lions showing up 4 or 5 times on my property this year. I've never see that. There's just so many predators, and predators eat the animals.
Yeah.
If they eat the animals, then you don't need to hunt. And that's what they're trying to do, is allow the predators to manage and maintain things, which will never work. It'll collapse.
Yeah, it'll collapse.
And then the predators will starve. Once again, all these things are way worse outcomes for the animals. they are not better outcomes for the animals. Like me shooting an animal is probably the most humane death that animal has an option to see. Or getting hit by a car and died instantly. Those are its two real, as much as those seem horrific to the anti-hunter, those are the two most humane options that animal probably has. Because it's going to starve to death, freeze to death, or get eaten by something else.
Yep.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
All three of those outcomes are way worse than me shooting it. It just is.
I agree.
Stupid.
Well, hate to leave on a downer, but fire's out. And I mean, take our hunting rights seriously. Like, hate to see those things go away because they never come back. I've watched any small thing go away. Those things have never came back. You know.
That's correct.
So I look at it more as just a preservation of the culture.
That's why you argue and fight all of them. Even if you agree with it. Even if you go, yeah, I can understand why this would be beneficial.
Yeah, if you say baiting doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
But it might not affect you now, but the next thing they do might.
Yeah,
It's
that's
it's a preservation of culture.
That's right. No different than trapping or hound hunting or any of those things. Just because you don't do them doesn't mean you shouldn't fight for the person that does them.
Right.
Because it's all forms of hunting. We have to support all forms of hunting in this state, in every state, because we're not going to have it if we don't join together and fight as a group instead of fighting amongst each other. And then they just still do what they want.
Yeah. Hunting.
Kind of like our political system.
Yeah. Hunting and healthy management. Good things that can and do work. So anyway, we're going to sign off today. Fire's out. Hunting season's here. I hope you have the best of luck wherever you're at. Shoot straight. Shoot fast.